One of the strategic and invaluable lessons I learned is that everything has to count. So really quite early on in the life of the ensemble, we focused heavily upon the work and the ideas of a few composers. Liza, obviously, who is been more recently a lecturer and a teacher here at CeReNeM, but also Richard Barrett, who is here with us today. And these working relationships built up over years after years after years acquire a certain kind of weight and authority that allow all of the people involved to pursue their artistic identities and ideas with a great deal of confidence.
Richard's piece tonight, Entoptic, is a world premiere.
Entoptic phenomenon is a visual experience which is coming from inside the nervous system.
I have 25 instruments spread across the table in a symmetrical square. 4 rows of 4 principally metallic instruments, and then in between them another group of 3 times 3 instruments, so 25 in total, mapped out on the table. The piece is performed with 4 microphones presenting surround sound to the audience, so they're hearing as if they are sitting on top of the table, the way the sounds are all moving.
And one of the things that is very common to experiences of altered states of consciousness, for example in shamanistic cultures, is what the anthropologists call form constants. Zigzags, cross-hatchings, spirals and so forth.
One of the fascinating things about it is that Richard has also developed a graphic system where, with the picture of the box representing the grid of the square, he has done pictograms of the movement of the sticks across that grid.
The reason why these shapes appear in entoptic phenomena is that they are a kind of mapping of the visual part of the brain itself. So when we see those things, we're actually looking inside our own minds. I found that a very fascinating idea to explore in musical terms, and so these form constants, these different kinds of shapes, are indeed the shapes which the percussionist makes across the instrument, and which therefore are reproduced in the shapes by which the sounds move through the space which the audience is inside.
One of the pieces I'm playing tonight is Green Line Eats the Sun. And the way the piece is written, it was originally written for a double belt euphonium. On hearing the piece, I really wanted to play it, and I sort of tried to find a way to do this. So with my trombone, what I've done is attached a clear piece of pipe to the F tubing slide of my trombone, so it attaches into a second bell that I happen to have. The open bell being sort of dance-like and carnivalesque, and the muted bell being sort of this other area of consciousness.
Tonight's program, I think, encapsulates something very dear to the ELISION Ensemble in terms we have a series of composers with whom we've had very long-standing relationships, including Richard Barrett, who we've been working with for close to 30 years, Liza for longer, and Aaron Cassidy now for many years as well. And so we have these established relationships where we're able to build connections, technique, repertoire, and trust and friendship, which is fantastic. But also, coupled with that, we're always seeking to work with new composers like Joel and the other Huddersfield student composers. So it's very exciting, as I said, to find new voices, new ideas.
this kind of really electric sound was something that I was interested in exploring. The possibility of combining processing from Daryl with electronic processing from me, you can create really rich combinations. I feed text commands to Daryl live, and he gets these on his iPad screen. So he has this very, very in-the-moment, real-time experience of working with a score, and he can respond to those texts in the moment.
To belong to interiority does not mean only to be inside, but to be on the inside of the limit. At the level of the polarised membrane, internal past and external future face one another. I was trying to really find sounds that would allow them to trace over one another.
I mean, and the interplay between instruments is beautiful too. He's thought so carefully about the texture of the percussion in terms of matching what the flugelhorn is doing, and I think it just works together so well. And then they start at sort of synchronous sections which gradually drift across each other. So I think the structure is also very beautiful. It's mainly notated. There's some small sections at the end of free improvisation between the two players, but I think it's a really successful and interesting piece and a great addition to the repertoire for that combination, which is actually becoming much more common. There are a few duos around the world commissioning, and within ELISION we've commissioned a body of repertoire for trumpet and percussion, so I think it's fertile ground.